Hey, Raja, congratulations, my friend. One more election down the belt. Mute, you're on mute.
You hear me now?
Yeah. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And we were just introducing you as the person who coined the samosa caucus, but now we got to have idli and dosa too.
That's right. That's right.
But
Absolutely. We need more. I say samosas and pakoras and idlis and vades. We need Congress to look like America.
absolutely, man. So congratulations. I know you had a thumping victory there. And so what do you think? What do you make of all these things going on? I think Vice President Biden is still not there yet. He needs a little bit more to go before they call the races. But what's your prognosis?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, MR and Sanjeev and Mansi and Indiaspora for having this post-election analysis. I think it's so important to kind of do an after-action dive into what happened. Well, look, I think that we all know the math at this point. I think everybody's been paying attention, depending on which set of numbers you use, whether you go with the AP or the New York Times. Basically, Vice President Biden is tantalizingly close to 270. I think that the AP has already called Arizona for Biden. New York Times has not, and some other outlets, but he's basically almost there. And then he just needs Nevada, which is pretty much, going into his column. And I just found out that Georgia is now has a margin of only 36,000 votes. And there's a lot to be counted in Fulton County, which is basically a Democratic stronghold. So now he has multiple paths. And so regardless of what the president does in, filing litigation with regard to Pennsylvania, for instance, I think that there's going to be a coalescing, in my opinion, of opinion that the next president is going to be Joseph Biden.
No, that's great to hear. So one of the questions we've been asking different people as they come into the show is there's been a lot of divisiveness till the elections. How do you kind of start reuniting the country, reuniting your constituents? What are your thoughts in that regard?
I think that we have to find the boldest common denominator that unites us and work on those priorities first before tackling some of the other issues which obviously deserve attention, but might provoke a little more disagreement in terms of the way forward. And I think the boldest common denominator that unites all of us is A, crushing the virus and developing a safe and effective vaccine and getting it out ASAP. And then B, repairing the economy and helping struggling businesses and families get through this thing at the same time that we're dealing with the health crisis. On the first issue, I think that there's going to be broad consensus about what we need to do, which is we need to take the politicians out of managing the FDA, CDC, and HHS, and we need to put the scientists and the healthcare professionals back in charge. With regard to the economy, I do think that there's a lot of folks who have come together on a stimulus package. We were this close right before the election. And I suspect that right after the election, we'll take up that issue again, and hopefully we'll get it past the goal line.
Raja, a lot of people may not know this about you, but in a previous election cycle, obviously you won a thumping victory in this election cycle, and congratulations. But in a previous election cycle, you have actually run against another Indian American. And I was just curious, I suppose from Indiaspora's perspective, that's kind of a good problem to have because that shows that more Indian Americans are getting involved in the political space. But for you as an Indian American, was that in any way, shape, or form awkward? I know you won that race very handily, or is it just part of business and you got to do what you got to do kind of thing?
Well, first of all, thank you for noting that I did win last night. I was seeking a third term on November 3rd. As I like to tell people, I was trying to go 3 for 3 on November 3. And I ended up pulling it off. We ended up winning 71% of the vote in the suburbs, where I'll just tell you that 70% of my constituents are not Democrats. And we have a sizable proportion who are Republicans, and I'm really proud that we won a lot of Republicans to my side. With regard to the issue that you brought up, yeah, I think that it's fair to say that Indian Americans now happen to be Democrats, they happen to be Republicans, and they take up positions that may not necessarily align 100%. And because of that, they sometimes run. In this case, this individual decided to run against me, and he lost pretty badly. But I don't think it had anything to do with his ethnicity. It was just that, we just had a much better campaign and a much better reason for why me, why now, which is always the most important questions that any candidate needs to answer when they're running for any office.
Yeah, I think, Raja, looking at it, we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we lost track. We think there are between 200 and 300 Indian Americans who have run for office in this cycle. City council, state assembly, school board, you add it up. And so sure enough, your opponent probably was one of them,
That's right. I think that's exactly right. I think, we are starting to realize that old adage, MR, which is if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. And I think Indian Americans realize that neither they nor their families nor their priorities can afford to be on the menu. So they're pulling up the proverbial seat to the table. And that means voting, but also running for office. And so I encourage people to do more of that. Just please don't run in my district against me.
So Raja, what are your priorities as you look over the next couple of years? What would you like to get done in the next term?
Well, I think first of all, I'm the oversight chairman of the subcommittee on economic and consumer policy. So I have direct jurisdiction of HHS, CDC, and FDA. And those agencies have become heavily politicized, MR. And that's a first, despite the fact that under both Republican and Democratic administrations, they were largely left to do what was right according to science and reason. And so that is a big priority for me, which is to depoliticize those agencies so that they can do their job and get us the hell out of this pandemic ASAP. So that's one big priority. The second is we've got to stabilize the economy. We are growing, which is good. But at the same time, whole industries are decimated. You know about them as well as I do. The airline industry is on its knees. And I happen to represent all the suburbs surrounding O'Hare International Airport, including the runways, but not the terminals. And we can talk about gerrymandering another time. But the hotel and hospitality industry, the restaurant industry, the tourism industry, and so forth need help. They need help now more than ever, because we don't want a situation where we basically allow them to die, even as we're trying to save the patient, so to speak, on the operating table, which is the American economy.
Well, Raja, we wish you all the best in the next couple of years. And, really want to congratulate you on your third term, done a terrific job, and you're a role model for the community. And you're also a torchbearer for idli, dosa, vadai, and samosas. Thank you.
That's right. Hey,
thanks for being on, Raja.
And one of these days after the pandemic, we're going to share some of those together in person. I look forward to it.
Absolutely. Take care now.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you.